Hey, welcome back. My name is Naomi, and in this little corner of the internet, I like to offer collective readings where I, you know, extend out my antenna into the universe and see what wisdom there is for us today. And today, my antenna is really talking to the star Sirius, and it has been for about a week now. Uh, the last reading that I did, it was talking about the opening of the Isis Gate. And this is something that completely came through channeled. I don't really know what the Isis Gate is. This is kind of the first time that I have heard of it. I have heard of the Venus cycles, and I know also from different stories of like Inanna, Persephone, that they go down into the underworld. And so I was a little curious about why this particular time was called the Venus Gate, or at least that's how it came through for me. And I was tuning into that, and it seemed that it was this story that kind of wanted to be shared with people right now, or at least this little intimate group of people that are listening here, that last week the sun was conjunct Sirius in the sky and on the zodiac wheel when you put it on paper. And when that happens, there's a little time period, like an arc, that happens of a story between that moment and the moment when Sirius and the sun rise on the horizon, which was an incredibly special day to the ancient Egyptians. I would be curious right now if this is also something that carries on to this day, but in ancient Kemet, that's ancient Egypt. So in Kemet, uh, they saw the rising of the star Sirius as like the mark of their new year. And this was the star that when they looked at it, it was the embodiment of Isis. And it's just such a cool, it it's just so beautiful. So what's interesting is that this particular energy is the hardest for me personally to integrate. And so I feel like that is, first of all, why I've been called to do these readings for this week, and also to kind of show what it's like to integrate things that are not very easy right here on the spot for you guys, for your entertainment. But the truth is that when I look at my own chart, I can see that Sirius, that star, is actually opposite my sun. And what that means for me is that it is a push-pull between where I shine and where my shadow is. And so it's interesting that Sirius is showing me a place where my shadow kind of is kind of obscuring things for me to see it clearly. So I just think that it is so humorous of this beautiful goddess to come in and say, please do a reading in the spot where I can't really see because it's not fully integrated into my being. But I guess that's what I'm doing right here on the spot with you. So to help me out with that, I have my painting that I had no idea when I was painting this thing. Isn't that neat? I like how that happened. So I had no idea when I was painting it that the blue is the color of the star Sirius. And also it it's kind of one of those things when you dive in the rabbit hole of looking into what, our idea and our channelings and it through visionary states, when we've connected to the Syrian beings, often they have blue skin. Wild, kind of like the Hindu gods. Were the Hindu gods Syrian? I don't know. Anyway, so we've got the blue, and then the red. The red, long, long time, has been the color of the ancient mother. Now, ancient mother is Isis. Isis is the goddess of 10,000 names. She's one of, you could kind of call her like the all goddess, in many ways. Uh, Through her, there's a fractal of many, 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 many different variations of the ancient feminine wisdom, which has often been looked at as red. So that's why you've got red roses, women wearing the red clothes. It's the color of our blood, and it's the color of our root chakra, and so the color of our heart. There's so many different things that are associated with red that are associated with ancient feminine wisdom. So I painted, this is a painting that I painted something like 10 years ago. And then that white is when, you've got these two energies combined. That white is that energy of light, of just radiant, bright, pure light. So I'm going to have this painting hang out with me to help guide this message and see what comes through. My drum is also going to hang out with me so that I can hear it through my heart. So yeah, and I'm going to do this in a metaphorical, pictorial way for you guys to see. So yeah, the story of what this arc is about. So the sun conjunct Isis last week. That was kind of, in a way, like a conception. The idea of this goddess was born. And then she moves through the gestation process of going through being built. And later, then when she rises on the horizon, will be the day when she's born. And so, what is that for us? Well, it's a dissolution of things from our past, because in order for us to conceive an idea, there's also a part that is metaphorically being laid to rest. A new idea springs forward from the remains and the compost of an old idea or an old structure. And that is actually something that we're all kind of embodying right now in this incredibly amazing, chaotic time of change, where many of the world's structures are falling apart and being I don't want to say disembodied, dissolved. We'll say dissolved. Disembodied feels a weird way, especially if we're trying to step into the embodiment of something new. So I feel like this message coming from Sirius and coming from Isis is teaching us how to shed old skins and step into, or just, well, because what's actually being shown to me right now is that when a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't step into something new. It already is. It already is that something new. And all that's happening is it's wiggling free from the older version of itself that got too tight. So, but it already is, and it already always was. Like that skin underneath, that new skin is also simultaneously the old skin. Because if you think about it, where did that new skin come from? It came from its own cellular regeneration process. So It just continues into infinity. So it's not stepping into anything new. It's being itself. It's being more of itself and no longer confined by that tight, itchy, old skin. If you've seen snakes shed their skin, it looks like they are trying to itch themselves. It is an uncomfortable, itchy process. So if you think about what is trying to move and shake and change in your life, it can be itchy. So, just itch it and just relieve yourself. Take an Epsom salt bath. That'll help the itchiness. Or something. Yeah. Anyway, I joke, but truth be told is that we're all going through these different processes that are not easy, but we can also find joy and laughter and humor in all of it. Even on a day like today where honestly, I've had to restart this a number of times because the words just came out really gobbledygooky, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to film this. But what's interesting is that I just decided that I'm going to do it anyway. So here I am. So let's actually see what it is. Wow. Let's try to see what it is that Sirius is trying to tell us. The question that I asked before I began was, what does Sirius want us to know right now? What does it want us to know? And look at what I get. I get this: closing door completion. Wow. So I'll hold this up just for a second so you guys can see. Closing door completion. This is so much of what's been coming through, is that we're closing doors, we're completing chapters, we're going forward into new uncharted areas of our life, and we're exploring different possibilities. But in order to do that, sometimes you have to close and complete certain things in your past. And in the reading last week, a lot of it was actually completing old soul agreements, soul contracts that you have had with others that are complete, that no longer serve you going forward. So again, this is coming forward of it's time to close and complete different cycles. So you can think of things that already have been feeling kind of ready to be done in your world, in your life. What's closing? What's coming to a complete? What's changing for you? So the next thing that I think is just, it's amazing, is this one: Sky Dancer, surrender. And surrender to the process. And that's really what I've been heard. Like, I've heard this so much from my guides, is that in order to close the door and then actually walk through into the next chapter, the next room, the next octave of your being, it takes a certain amount of surrender, where we don't exactly know who it is that we're becoming. Like this butterfly, the process of becoming a butterfly really, really speaks to surrender, because it eats and eats and eats and eats and eats. I raised silkworms for a while, and the amount of leaves that they eat is just absolutely amazing. So they eat 50 times their weight in leaves, and then they spin themselves into the tightest little cocoon. Now, just imagine that you wrap yourself up tightly in something that you don't know if you will ever emerge from. Some of those silkworms never do emerge. And it is such a leap of faith for them to go through that process, because they have no idea if they will make it. They have no idea if they will make it. if they will turn into the butterfly, moth, whatever it is. That with silkworms they turn into a moth, but with all these different caterpillar beings, when they crawl into that cocoon and they spin themselves tight in their little itty bitty webs and then form that chrysalis, that container in which they can completely dissolve into the nothing, into the mystery. Now that is it's an incredibly brave process. And so that's kind of where we're at in different places. Now, when I say different places, all of us are in different forms of closing a door, being in a cocoon, already having our wings, already having walked through the door. There's all these different rotating pieces of ourself because we are so multidimensional. We have so many fractals within ourselves that in all different areas, we're in all different places of this developmental process. And so you can look at the places where you are already a butterfly. You have already, and oh, this is so cool. Isis is showing me that where have you already been birthed into that sunlight, that place where you are now, that embodied goddess, god version of yourself, that higher octave of you. And then where is it that you continue to be in the unknown, wrapped place of being in that dissolution, alchemical place of I don't know what is going to happen next. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm turning into. I don't know what I need to let go of. Mystery, mystery, mystery. And the places where you are actively closing doors that you already know, I'm ready to close that door. It's done. I already saw that. It's finished for me. It feels complete. So we're in all these different places simultaneously. So what this speaks of is so much bigger than just this one life. This one life is kind of that fractal piece of information, the clue of what's happening in so many different parallel and past and future lives that you have. And I'll speak like this really frankly because it is a true belief of mine that I feel that we are very infinite, we're infinite beings, and that this human life is just one tiny drop in the sea of who we are. And so the healing and the changing and the reemerging and all of these different ways of your expression, that is also clues to what is shifting and changing across all timelines in every place, in every direction of time. And that's just freaking wild. So, yeah, things that you were completing right now actually have roots in, when you were a child. You can look back at how, if your child self could look at you right now, what would it say? What would it tell you? Would it be excited alongside? And then you can also see, especially when you start looking like with Akashic records and past life regression and all these different modalities of looking past who we are today and into who we were or will be, we can see that the healing that we do right now is also healing old ancestral wounds and all these different past lives that we've had. So it's just phenomenal what happens when we change one little tiny thing here. So that's what's coming through with Sirius. And now what's interesting is that specifically with this star is that it holds memory of ancient civilization and ancient time where it did have lots of karma to clear, where the Syrian what I've learned through other people that do this work, and also just from my own visions that I've seen along the way, is that the Syrians really, really wanted to help. And the way in which they went about helping actually interfered with the ones that they were trying to help to benefit. And you can think of the ways in which you have stepped in, like I have personally stepped in to help, and it hasn't ever, it just, you know, the stuff hits the fan because, first of all, it wasn't what they needed. You imposed your will on somebody else because you wanted to fix and change something, and they can only fix and change themselves when they're ready to. So, when you really do step into the higher, like, octave of healing yourself and help, healing others, is that you really are just there to be a witness and hold space for them to do the work themselves. And then also just share your stories of how you did it yourself. And share your wisdom for whoever it is that wants to hear it. But forcing is not, it's never going to work out. And so that's kind of what happened, is that this race of people were here. And this was at the time of ancient Egypt and Atlantean times too. I don't think that's a myth. I think ancient Lemuria and ancient Atlantis actually were here. And that my soul remembers having lives at that time. And especially with the ancient Atlantean one, being rather forceful around how I thought healing needed to happen. And that is something that my soul has been clearing, like karmically clearing for a while, of learning how to hold space and offer healing and not do it in a way where I know what the outcome is, because I don't. And it's not my business to know what the outcome is. So, I don't know why that's coming up, if that's important for anyone to hear. So I just think that's kind of interesting that that's what wanted to come through right now. So I want to pull a card from this fairy oracle that I've really been connecting to. First of all, it's nice to hold it. There's just something very comfortable about it in my hand. And interestingly enough, it's very similar to this painting that I made like a decade ago. And it's also interesting that these cards have been hiding just as long as that painting, and they're only just now coming out right now. There's something about that. Magic of synchronicity. So, all right, let's ask, what is it that Sirius wants us to know right now? What does the Star Sirius want us to know right now? Oh, wow. Okay. The Star Faerie. The Star Faerie. I'm going to go ahead and read it because all of these cards have stories. And I don't know each of them by heart yet. So 36. It speaks of, I'll hold the card up so that you can see it. It speaks of universal connections, cosmic collaboration, unity. And it says, it's easy to go through life not feeling connected to anyone or anything. We insulate ourselves from that which surrounds us. It can be overwhelming to think about the vastness above us and we may feel the need to protect ourselves from that vastness. The Star Fairy invites connection to the universe. When you find this in a reading, it's important to think about how we are all connected, not only to everything on earth, but to the stars and the whole universe as well. Look up. It may be in the middle of the day, or you may be in a place that has so much illumination at night that you never see the stars. But remember that the stars are always there. The energy of the stars is in all of us, literally. We are made up of tiny bits of star energy, and that is what fairy dust is. The star fairy embodies that energy with us always, whether we see it or not, reminding us of our universal connections. That is just such a beautiful confirmation that this star is alive, that this star is not just this pinprick of light out there in the universe that we see sometimes and sometimes we don't, that it is a living, breathing being out there in the cosmos. And what's even more incredible is that that connection lives and breathes in you, because you are literally made of the same thing and are connected to the same source of energy. When we take a look at this star fairy, we see so much light emanating from this heart chakra, especially, and then the crown chakra. And then up above the crown is this higher, this is the star chakra. So these chakras are being fully illuminated, and then also you can tap into that connection, which, when you come back, you take all that star energy and you bring it all the way in through your crown, through your pineal gland, which is like straight in here in the middle of your head, through your throat chakra, and then your heart. When you bring that star energy all the way in, and then recognize that you are actually part of a greater collective of beings out there, it really makes us feel not alone. We're not alone hanging out on this beautiful little isolated ball, our little planet, that we're not here by ourselves. We're actually part of something so much bigger. And that the healing that we're doing now, oh, this is so cool coming through right now. That the healing that we're doing, changing from the butterfly and changing from the caterpillar to a butterfly, and then closing those doors, not only is that healing all of your timelines, all of your past and future selves, but it's also reaching out into that space where we are connected to the star, and you're able to, that healing is for them, that healing, they're offering healing to you. This is us connecting to something so much bigger than we ever thought. Wow, that is so cool. I'm trying to listen if there's anything else that needs to come through. Hmm. Yeah, I think actually, no, I'm going to pull this one. Yeah, these cards. I'm going to pull one more of these. So we have this surrender, completion, the star fairy, all of that talking about us being deeply and so richly connected to the rest of the cosmos, that the Syrians are also closing a chapter of their karma as well. This is we're experiencing it because they're doing their healing as well. Wow, we're all in this together. Every single being is doing this together. That's pretty profound if you think about it. So, what's the last thing that this star would like us to see using the cards that are in my hand. Which card most describes what it is that you would like us to know to close out this reading? Oh, I love when that happens. I love when that happens. They just jump right out. Whoa, okay. Wow, wow. The vanishing mirror. Ego sublimination. The vanishing mirror. So 58. I really, really think it's important to do the numerology on these types of cards. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's a 13 and that's a 4. Wow, okay. So that's integrating that this is deep integration. Very deep integration. 13, it's so the 12, is this 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it's 8. Interesting. Just had to check. Anyway, 12, the 12 of the zodiac, and then the 13, that point in the middle. So this right here, we're integrating all fragments of ourself and vanishing that mirror. Okay, so I'm going to try to boil it down. And actually, maybe I will read this while I try to boil all, because it basically just poof downloaded a mega wad of information there. But I'm going to read this while I'm integrating that. Like I said, the Syrian energy, this is one that I'm actively integrating on the spot with you guys witnessing me. Okay. Ego sublimation. Okay, so vanishing mirror. Ego sublimation. Letting go of self-centeredness. Letting go of self-centeredness. Becoming a vessel of possibility. Did you ever wonder if your self-definition has become too rigid, too fixed around what you've come to learn, so that you contract your life into zones of safe versus unsafe? This here is okay, but over there, well, that might just be too risky. Judgment, fear, self-righteousness, and overconfidence are only some of the traits that keep you from evolving. We are all products of our conditioning, so remember that this is part of the human experience. Yet you are not meant to remain static. Seeking only what you expect, even if it appears ambitious, is still too narrow. You go nowhere when you hesitate to move out of your comfort zone. When you focus too much on yourself this way, you become a servant of the ego. It edges God or source out, removing the magic of possibility. Imagine looking into a mirror and seeing only what you are now. If you can let your self-definition soften, moving beyond the veil to your potential, a magical emptiness exists where all things are possible. Look again. Who could you be? What would you see reflected if you allowed yourself to be other than how you define yourself now? So honestly, what's coming through is that us surrendering and completing, and then completing huge karmic cycles, because these cards paired all together, this is the closing of, I'm hearing, a 26,000 year of karma. It wow. I don't know why the number 26,000 came in. I have to look into that. But it is closing out a karmic cycle that is incredibly long. We're completing something really, really big. And then to have this, the vanishing mirror, that so much of our experience is, what's inside is projected out and reflected back. And so whatever we are putting out into the world, we just see that coming back. And it can be very confusing, because sometimes if what we're putting out into the world is that the world is scary and unsafe, and these different pieces of challenge, where the world is challenging, the more we are putting that out into the mirror, the more we see that coming back. And so we are actually actively dissolving mirrors that are no longer for our well-being. We continue to live in a paradoxical universe of opposites. That's where those are the laws of this universe, this reality that we live in, that we see the opposite constantly reflected. However, a lot of those that we're actively dissolving right now are destructive illusions that when I hope I'm getting this out right, is that a lot of these different things they're illusions that we have projected out into the world, and we're actively dissolving it. We're busting up that mirror. And no, that whole thing of like 7 years of bad luck, that's just that. No, it's 7 years of good luck when you destroy a mirror that's not really in your best interest. 7 years of good luck. So, oh, wow. So guys, my gosh, we are doing such big work. Even if you feel like maybe you're not doing anything, you are. You are. And you are doing it so beautifully, and everything in its right time. You are exactly where you need to be. You are exactly doing what you need to be doing. And, continue to let this mirror reflect what needs to stay, what needs to go. There's so many things that we see in the world that need to go. And how are we going to do it? Well, we need to dissolve it in here first. I've said this before, where we can't look at the mirror and ask it to brush our hair. Like, that's not the way it works. We need to brush our hair, and then we see the reflection brush its hair. So that's what's also going on, is that we are not going to see the mirror reflect peace, people loving each other, things being brought back into their vital, pure forms, without us doing that internal work first. So, but what's so beautiful is that we have such incredible help right now with this star, this collective of this energy consciousness, this aliveness from this star. Is that this alignment right now is doing the work. It is helping us do the heavy lifting, so that it feels graceful and joyful, and that that caterpillar that emerges out into the sun, like the star Sirius on that day when it rises with the sun, that actually will be so effortless. And the reason that these things become effortless is that if you think about different changes that have gone on through your life, that when you can't force yourself to change. You only change when you decide to, when you're ready to, when you have made that inner commitment to your well-being, to do something new, do something different. Like, I can think of so many times where I needed to change something in what I ate. I personally really loved to drink soda, like years and years ago. I loved Coca-Cola. all it just I would have it at dinner. It was just what I had all the time. And then I don't even know what kind of came on, what changed, and I just stopped really wanting that. And I think that kind of paired with me stepping into more of what was good and what felt more aligned for me is that, for me, Coca-Cola and soda and sugars, that lots of sugary stuff in my system wasn't really doing great things to my body, but I didn't force myself to stop drinking it. It was a byproduct of me, healing and changing these things internally, where one day it just was like, I don't really crave it anymore. I don't really want it anymore. It's just not really part of what I need. And I just stopped drinking it. And so now it's like if I want it, it's actually something kind of exciting and novel, and I just enjoy it more fully when I actually do, which is like super rare these days. But you know, it's like this is kind of what happens is that we shift into that new version of ourselves, and the old version really just doesn't stick anymore. So what's going on is that this collective, this star, the energy coming from this, and the archetype of the goddess Isis is also really giving us a helping hand right now, doing this work where the things that are in our best interest and the things that are actually for our healing journey will just stick, and they'll just suddenly start to make sense, and it won't be such a struggle. So I think that's it for the reading today. Wow. So I just want to take a second and say thank you to my guides and your guides for showing us, for just really showing us the way, and for this beautiful star, and knowing that we are connected to the greater fabric of the cosmos, and that we're not just this isolated little mass of humans, that we're connected to, the greater galaxy, and that there are beings out there that love and support and are doing this journey with us, and that we are not doing this by ourselves. And we never have been. And it's just us trying to remember that we're not doing this alone. So we also have, the earth also doing her own version of healing. You can see it. You can see in the way that she's changing, that she is doing her own healing and purging right now. And for us to have compassion for all beings that are doing this journey in whichever way they're being guided, and for us to just witness and support and love, just continue to love. I think that's all we ever can do, is we just continue to love. So yeah, I think that's it. I hope everybody is good and happy out there. I feel like this particular July has been really super duper illuminating. I know for me, a lot of different things kind of came in really clearly. And yeah, I've been journaling a lot to see, what is it that's also just kind of changing and shifting in my own life. So yeah, I'm excited to see, different chapters opening up. A lot of my friends are also having big changes in their life, and it's just so cool. It's so beautiful. So I'd love to see kind of how everybody's doing out there. I wanted to say thank you to people that have actually made comments down below, and that always makes me feel like that I am connected. It's funny that that came up in the reading of being connected to the greater whole, is that I sometimes feel like I'm just, hanging out all alone doing this, and it's just so fun to see your comments come in. So more of that, please. It makes my heart happy. And it's nice to see who's out there with me. And I am very grateful for everyone that has been supporting me in this journey. And yeah, it's just so cool. It's cool to be making this community come alive and doing these readings where I get to just, be my weird self and see what this turns into. I don't know what this channel will turn into, but I have noticed that it's been kind of like a storytelling through the weeks of this energetic soup that just keeps unfolding, and it just continues to get richer and deeper as we keep going through these different readings. So that's been pretty wild. We'll see what continues to unfold. Yay. But yeah, um, I guess that's it for now. Of course, I would love, love, love to open up um the conversation for anyone that is curious about joining me and Lisa in Mexico for the Ancestor Alchemy, where we're going to be diving into so much more of this healing and doing it together in ceremony together. I just can't wait. It's so exciting. But, you know, we do need people to go. We do need people to actually go. So I'm curious to see who will want to go, because right now, I don't know. I don't know who will be there. And it's early yet, October feels like a long ways away, but it's just right around the corner. So it's good to start getting prepared and start really thinking about whether or not you're called to this work, and if it's something that is engaging you in some way or another. So on that note, in a little while after I post this, I'm also going to be posting the 3-part series that me and Lisa videoed. And, it's our first time kind of going through this process of doing this on like a bigger scale. We've done so much of these small, intimate, group like gatherings, but then doing this on a bigger, more public scale is new to me. And so it's just exciting to include you guys in this process of us really jumping in and embodying these things that we're encouraging everyone to drop into. And okay, I've chattered on way too long. So anyway, love you all. I'm so excited that you are here. And I guess that's it. Ah, this cool painting. How cool is that? So I think since I'm having a hard time getting off today, like I just want to, if you've hung out with me all the way until this moment, I'm actually just gonna blast you with some of this energy. I think that's pretty cool. Hmm. All right. Until next time. Bye.